have very fond memories. And so I've really grown up in the industry. I started playing an instrument like Mark probably very early in life. I started playing guitar at about age 5 or 6. Similar to Mark, played in a lot of rock and roll bands, jazz bands growing up. Became a double major in college, acting and music, and I figured, well, of the two insane professions, music was really where my heart was, so I decided to really pursue music. Around junior year, I became very serious. Got my degree in music at California Institute of the Arts, which is this crazy, wild school in Valencia, California. Clothing optional, back then, probably still is. And very similar road, maybe a little different than Mark. My recording career never took off. I never became a rock and roll star as I thought I would. So therefore, I started to work right out of college in television, which in the early 80s was quite vibrant here in town. Lots of live recording sessions every week. I started as an orchestrator for other composers, and so that's how I got my start. I did that for a few years, slowly but surely got my own episodic work, you know, like Javier, doing a little of this, a little of that. Probably in the early 90s, I got my first break, interestingly at Disney also. I did a picture called Hocus Pocus, which was, I had 2 weeks to write 90 minutes of orchestral music, and it was just insane. Typically, James Horner had pulled out at the last minute. Anyway, I love him, but that seems to be a pattern. Anyway, no, love him dearly. And so it was a wonderful break for me, to be honest with you, that James actually did something very kind. He recommended me to the producers, and so I did Hocus Pocus. Fade out, fade in, not unlike Mark. I was very fortunate to start getting other films. Through the 90s, I did really a little television and mostly films. I'm very fortunate. Up to now, and I'd say probably the highlight for me was a couple years ago, and congratulations, getting nominated for an Academy Award for The Passion of the Christ. And it's just been a wonderful journey. I'm very fortunate, and again, I hope to continue.
Alex, what's your history?
My history?
Your history.
Well, I'm Alex Heffers. I live and work in London, in England, so it's particularly nice to be here today because when I jumped on the plane last week it was freezing, it was snowing. And this is a beautiful place here. My background, I play keyboards, I play piano like these guys. I started playing in bands when I was younger, jazz particularly. I did a very straight college degree, I suppose. I went to Oxford, I learned all sorts of things about medieval music and harping, which I thought was all totally useless, frankly. And it's amazing how that stuff sits in the back of your brain, and I use it every single day, and now I'm grateful to my professors.
So those of you who are taking music lessons, pay attention. It's going to come back to haunt you.
I'm not going to evangelise because it's not... Actually, what I found when I left college was there are a lot of people doing really well in the business and in the music and movie business who had never learned any of that stuff. And it was a bit of a wake-up call, actually. And I've spent the last 10, 15 years, as I've been working my way through the ranks of actually trying to learn from those people and take what I hadn't learned from that side of the business and combine it with what I was lucky enough to learn at college. So I started doing arrangements, orchestrations, doing some pop stuff a bit with Elton John and Blur and some British bands, and eventually started working as an assistant to a movie composer in London, which was very fortunate, as in the UK we don't often have that sort of position. There aren't as many people working in London as there are here in LA, so it gave me the real training in life that I needed, which was to sit watching a movie composer putting out fires all day long with directors and producers. So, that's my background. I'm here at the moment in the week that Forrest Whitaker's getting lots of attention for his wonderful performance in Last King of Scotland, which I was lucky enough to score. I've known the director, Kevin MacDonald, for many years, and the first picture I did with him was a documentary picture, actually, called One Day in September. which went on to win the Academy Award for Best Feature Documentary. So I was very lucky, and we all need lucky breaks, to meet someone extremely talented who was sort of thrown into the limelight. And, you know, if we all meet one or two great directors who we personally sort of click with, then we're lucky. And so, last King of Scotland, we'll talk about in a bit. I went out to Africa, I recorded a lot of the bands that are in the picture as well as doing the score. So every day is different for me, and that's what I love. I don't really mind not knowing what the next job's going to be, because it's the not knowing I enjoy. It's the journey. So that's me.
And we're going to talk a lot more about sort of the incredible variety of experiences you have on films. As I'm sure some of these composers have been trapped inside their studio and barely leaving those walls for 4 months at a time, and others have traveled around the world, sampling things, finding things. So we'll touch upon all that. But first, let's hear from Clint Mansell. Tell us a little bit about your background and about the Fountainhead as well.
I'm probably the odd man out here because I never went to school for music. I don't read music. I don't particularly play any instrument that well, although I can fumble my way around a few. I'm sort of a result, I suppose, of modern technology, as much as the computer is, you know, where I do what I do, and, you know, it allows me to, I look at the way I do what I do almost like a sort of, it's like a sonic collage, if you like, you know, it's just putting things together and finding emotions and tensions and, I don't know, beauty, whatever, within what I create. My background was punk, really. I played in a band, just did okay. We did like 5 albums for BMG, and we were signed to Nothing Records, which was run by Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails for a while. And
this is Pop Lead itself.
Yeah. We toured pretty extensively worldwide, and probably got drunk in every city in the world, I should think. But, you know, I got to like 33 and thought, you know, this isn't really going anywhere. I was like $1 million shy of being a millionaire, and I thought, I've got to, you know, get a proper job or something. And Alex was talking about luck, and I was particularly down on my luck. I was living in New York, and the girl I was living with at the time had had enough of me and kicked me out, so I was pretty much homeless. But I met a guy called Darren Aronofsky, who was trying to make his first film at the time, and he needed somebody to do some music for the film, and he basically didn't know anybody, and we had a mutual friend who introduced us, and, you know, by default I sort of got the job by the fact that I had at least written some music in the past, you know. And also, as luck would have it, he had this crawl space above his kitchen that I could live in while we were doing it, so it was sort of like double luck, really. And that was it, really. That's where it went from. I mean, you know, the thing about Pi was there was no money, there was no studio, there was no industry, so we were just on our own trying to get it done. And the benefit for me with that was I had a lot of time to figure it out, what was, you know, what was needed for the film, what I had to do, what I didn't have to do. And, you know, if it'd been like a regular gig, you know, and I'd got 6 weeks, 2 months, whatever to do it, I'd never have done it because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But just having the time for me and Darren to figure out what we were doing, you know, we probably made lots of mistakes, but it kind of gave us our voice, if you like, and I think that's been probably the biggest benefit for me, really, you know. And that's about it.
And David.
Okay, there you have it. So my mom was an opera singer, so I learned to play guitar when I was like 8. Then I, not so good in high school, hard times. Mom, high time, very high at the time, don't remember much about it. Mom, then I went to SOMPU, which is a seat on my pants university, and started recording guitars. So I became like a session guitarist for Motown and blah, 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 blah. Then me and a friend were sitting around